There's this moment that happens sometimes when someone asks you about your childhood, maybe at a dinner table, maybe on a first date, and you open your mouth to answer, and then you pause. Not because nothing happened, not because it was some catastrophic story you're protecting them from, but because when you actually try to remember being a kid, like really being a kid, carefree, unbothered, just existing, you come up kind of empty. You remember being small, but you don't really remember being young. And that's the thing nobody talks about. Not the big dramatic version of a hard childhood, the quiet version. The one where you were technically fine, where nothing was technically wrong, but somewhere along the way you just skipped it. You skipped the part where you got to be a mess, where you got to not know things, where you got to need people without it costing you something. That's what I want to sit with today. Psychologists have a term for what happens when a child takes on adult responsibilities before their time. They call it parentification. And on paper, it sounds clinical enough, a child assuming emotional or practical roles that belong to the grown-ups around them. But that term doesn't really hold the full weight of it, does it? It doesn't capture what it feels like to be 8 years old and already know how to read a room, to clock your parents' mood the second the door opened, before they even said a word, to be the one who kept the peace, kept the household moving, kept everyone else from falling apart, while you, quietly set yourself aside. Parentification is the textbook word, but what it actually describes is a child who learned very early that the world needed them to be more than a child, and so they became that. Because what other option was there really? Dr. Lisa M. Hooper, a researcher who has spent years studying parentified children, found something that might reframe how you see yourself. She found that these children often appear exceptionally mature, responsible, capable beyond their years, and from the outside people praise them for it. Teachers loved them, adults trusted them, everyone commented on how grown they seemed. But here's what that maturity actually was. It wasn't emotional development, it wasn't wisdom. It was a survival adaptation. It was a child's nervous system learning to operate in a state of low-grade crisis, and then treating that state as normal, as just how life feels. So if you've ever wondered why you're so capable in emergencies but struggle to relax when everything is fine, that's not a personality quirk. That's your nervous system doing exactly what it learned to do. It learned that calm was temporary, that you had to stay ready, and it never quite got the memo that the emergency is over. And look, you did develop real strengths. That's true, and it's worth naming. You became someone who could read people almost instantly. You could walk into a room and know who was hurting, who was angry, who needed to be handled carefully. You became a problem solver, because falling apart wasn't really on the table. You became reliable, steady, the one people call when things go sideways because somehow you always know what to do. Those aren't small things. Those are genuinely remarkable. But here's the part nobody warned you about. Those same abilities come with a price tag that you've been quietly paying ever since. Because the same skill that helped you survive your childhood is now making it hard to just live your adulthood. You can hold a room together, but you can't ask someone for a favor without feeling like a burden. You can problem solve anyone else's crisis, but you cannot sit still on a Sunday afternoon without that restless guilt creeping in. You can read everyone's emotions, but you've somehow lost the thread to your own. The tools that kept you safe then are the same tools that are keeping you stuck now. And it shows up in ways that are specific, recognizable, maybe uncomfortably so. In relationships, you tend to be the giver, the one who shows up, follows through, remembers things, holds things together. And you tell yourself it's just because you care. But if you're honest, there's something else underneath it. Being needed feels like love. It's the version of love you learned first, the version that made the most sense. So when someone offers you consistent love, steady, undemanding, just there, it can feel almost suspicious, like you're waiting for the catch, like you haven't earned it yet, and it's only a matter of time before they figure that out. At work, you're the dependable one, the one who picks up the slack, who doesn't complain, who figures it out no matter what. And again, you're probably genuinely good at your job. But there's a version of that capability that isn't confidence. It's fear wearing the mask of competence, a deep, quiet dread of what happens if you drop a ball, if you disappoint someone, if you turn out to be less than what everyone expects. And then there's control, not the loud, domineering kind necessarily, the quieter kind, the kind where you've mentally run through 17 different outcomes before making a decision that most people would make without a second thought. Where unpredictability, even good, exciting unpredictability, makes your chest tighten just a little. Because unpredictability back then often meant something was about to fall apart, and you are going to be the one who had to hold it. Can we talk about the tiredness for a second? Not the regular kind that sleep fixes, the other kind. The kind that's still there in the morning. The kind that sits behind your eyes and in your shoulders and sometimes in the middle of a perfectly fine day for no apparent reason. The kind that makes you wonder if something is wrong with you, because from the outside your life looks okay, maybe even good. Nothing is wrong with you. What's happening is that your nervous system has been running in overdrive since you were small. It never learned how to truly power down, because powering down once felt like a risk you couldn't afford. Rest meant things might slip. Softness meant someone might not be okay. So your system just kept going and going and going. That exhaustion is not weakness. It's not ingratitude for what you have now. It's the accumulated weight of years of being on, always on, when you should have been allowed to just be a kid who didn't have to be on at all. Here's the thing I want to say gently, but clearly. What you lost is real. And I think part of you knows that, even if you've never let yourself say it out loud. You lost the version of childhood where you got to be needy and no one expected you to fix it. Where you could be irresponsible and loud and unsure and still completely loved. Where someone else was supposed to be running the show and you got to just be along for the ride. That version of growing up, you didn't get it. And that's a real loss. Grieving it doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're saying your parents were monsters or that your whole childhood was terrible. It just means you're being honest. Honest about what it cost you to become who you had to become so early. Honest about the fact that the kid who held everything together deserved someone to hold them too. Let yourself feel that. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It might just be a quiet acknowledgement. Yeah, that was hard. I deserved more than that. And I didn't get it. That's not bitterness. That's just the truth. So here's what I want to offer you. Not as advice exactly, but as permission. Permission you maybe never received and have been waiting for longer than you realize. You are allowed to not know what to do sometimes. You're allowed to say, I don't know, and just leave it there, without rushing to fix it. You are allowed to rest. Not rest you've earned. Not rest as a reward for productivity. Just rest. Because you're a person and people need it, you are allowed to be taken care of. To receive something without immediately calculating how you'll pay it back. To let someone show up for you without making yourself smaller so they feel useful. And you are allowed to be a complete beginner at all of this, because that's what you are. Not because you're broken, because you never got the practice. Nobody showed you how. That child who ran the show, who read every room, who made sure everyone else was okay, they did something extraordinary. They kept things together when things had no business staying together. And they were so brave for doing it. But they're not on duty anymore. You're not on duty anymore. It's safe to put it down now. It's safe to let someone else carry something for once. It's safe, finally, to just be without earning your place in the room first. You've been holding on for a very long time. So I want to leave you with just one question, and I don't need you to answer it out loud. Just sit with it. What would your life start to look like if you actually believed you were allowed to need things too?